Welcome back to Unboxing OD. I'm your host, Kenneth Pearson, co-founder and OD consultant at Pearson & Pearson LLC and founder of Live a Haiku Life. I'm glad you're here for episode 3. If you've been following along, we've been building a strong foundation in organizational development. Last time, we explored the human side of change, how planning, engagement, and support are key to making transitions work. Today, we're taking a closer look at one of the most powerful tools in your OD toolkit, communication. Let me start with a question from a listener that I'm sure will sound familiar to many of you. It reads, "Hi Kenneth, I'm a new manager and I've noticed that during big projects, my team often seems out of sync. I send emails and updates regularly, but somehow things still fall through the cracks. How can I make sure my communication actually connects with my team?" First, let me just say, sending emails and expecting everyone to read them is like shouting it into the void and hoping the void shouts back. But in all seriousness, this question highlights a real challenge. Communication isn't just about what you say, it's about what your audience hears and understands. So today, we'll explore why communication is so essential to organizational success, how to tailor your message to your audience. Spoiler alert, not everyone loves emails. And how to avoid some of the common pitfalls that can trip us up. So let's dive in. Have you ever played a game of telephone? It starts with a simple message, and by the time it makes its way around the circle, it's completely unrecognizable. That, my friends, is organizational communication in a nutshell when it's not done well. At its core, communication is how work gets done. It's how strategies become actions, how teams collaborate, and how trust is built, or sometimes completely obliterated. But here's the tricky part. Just because you've sent a message doesn't mean it's been received the way you intended. Take our listener's example. They're sending updates, doing their part, but the team still feels out of sync. That's because communication isn't just about delivering information. It's about ensuring it resonates and leads to action. Without intentionality, it's easy for messages to get lost in translation or buried under a pile of unread emails. To communicate effectively, you need 3 key ingredients: clarity, consistency, and connection. Let's start with clarity. Imagine you're trying to explain a simple idea, but somehow end up sounding like you're narrating a plot twist in a Christopher Nolan movie. If your audience has to decode your message, they'll miss the point entirely. Clarity means keeping things simple, specific, and actionable. For example, instead of saying, "Let's improve collaboration," maybe try, "Let's schedule weekly cross-departmental meetings to share updates and align priorities." One's a goal, the other's a plan. Then there's consistency. If your message changes every time you share it, or if you only communicate sporadically, people will be more confused than a cat trying to figure out why the laser pointer keeps disappearing. During big projects or times of change, reinforcing the same message across multiple channels helps keep everyone aligned and confident. Finally, connection. This is where you make your message resonate. And here's a pro tip. People love stories. So instead of saying, "This project is critical for our growth," you might say, "This project will help us serve more customers, save time, and reduce stress for your team." You see the difference? Stories make things relatable and memorable. Now, let's tackle one of the most overlooked aspects of communication, which is knowing your audience. This is where a little self-awareness and maybe a touch of humility comes in handy. Not everyone loves long emails. Shocking, I know. Some people thrive on detailed instructions, while others prefer a quick verbal update or even a visual aid. Tailoring your communication isn't about reinventing the wheel. It's about delivering your message in a way that works for the people receiving it. In our listener's case, emails might work for some team members, but not for others. To fill the gaps, they might consider adding quick stand-up meetings or using a shared project board to provide a clear, visual overview of progress. The goal is to meet people where they are, not where you wish they'd be. This is also where OD professionals can make a huge impact. Our job is to bridge those communication gaps by understanding how different audiences process information and designing strategies that resonate across the board. Let's flip the script for a second. Communication isn't just about talking, it's also about listening. And let me tell you, the nod and smile routine does not count as active listening. Feedback is one of the simplest yet most effective ways to make sure your message has landed. Think about it. How often do you send an email or give instructions and assume everything is clear? And how often do you pause to ask, does this make sense? Any questions? Creating space for feedback not only ensures clarity, but also builds trust. It shows your team that you're invested in their understanding and that you're open to hearing their concerns or ideas. Active listening, really paying attention to what's being said and asking clarifying questions, can make all the difference. But even the best communicators fall into traps. One of the most common? Information overload. We've all been on the receiving end of an email so long, it might as well be a short novel. When you try to say everything at once, people often hear nothing. Instead, focus on what's most important and break your message into smaller, digestible pieces. Another mistake is assuming that just because you said something, communication has happened. In reality, it hasn't. Reinforcing your message and checking for understanding are non-negotiables. And finally, tone matters. A lot. People don't just hear your words, they feel your intention. A message delivered with respect and empathy will always land better than one that feels rushed or dismissive. Here's the bottom line. Effective communication isn't just about sharing information. It's about making sure it resonates. By focusing on clarity, consistency, and connection, and tailoring your message to your audience, you can build stronger relationships and drive better results. As you reflect on today's episode, ask yourself, how would you rate your communication style? Are there ways you can simplify your messages or tailor them more effectively? And when was the last time you really listened to the feedback your team was giving you? Thank you for joining me for episode 3 of Unboxing OD. Communication is at the heart of everything we do in organizations, and I hope today's conversation gave you some insights to bring back to your work. Next time, we're answering a big question. What does an organizational development practitioner actually do? We'll break down the role, the skills it requires, and why it's essential to organizational success. I'd love to keep the conversation going. Connect with me on LinkedIn, share your thoughts, or send me your questions. Who knows, your question might even inspire a future episode. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and take care of your organization and the people who make it thrive.